Well, hello. How you doing, Tammy? We have kind of a gray, gloomy day here in Indiana. It it's cool though, so that it feels pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna wait just a couple minutes here for hopefully for people to get on. I see they're coming in slowly. All right, I think I've got everything ready and organized. Today I'm going to do some Patriotic star earrings, and I'm going to do them in copper, although I may do them in silver too. I don't know. We'll have to see. Okay. Hang on just 1 second here. Okay. Yeah, so sorry about that. So yeah, I'm gonna do these Patriotic star earrings, and I'm gonna set some CZs in them, and hopefully you can see them okay on the camera. A friend had asked me to make a pair for her in silver, and I made these, and then I got to thinking that they might be a little bit larger than she'd like, so I'm going to make a little smaller pair. So I may do those for the demo. But yeah, you could definitely do them in copper or silver. I used 24 gauge on these silvers and 22 gauge on the copper. I don't know why, but the silver seemed like it was substantial enough for the earrings, and I'm sure the 24 gauge would be okay as well. But that's just what I happened to grab, so that's what I did. But I'm going to make these silver stars just a little bit smaller because I think she would prefer them just a little daintier. And these are the tube settings. I don't know if everybody is familiar with what a tube setting is, but if you don't know, I will try to explain them to you. Hi, Patricia. Okay, so these are, let me see if I can bring that in a little bit better. These are the tube settings that I'm going to use in this project. They are a 4mm right here and a 3mm, and the corresponding stones or CZs to go in them. There are two sides, the top and the bottom of the tube settings, and the bottom is a little bit, the silver is a little bit thicker on the bottom. I don't know if you can tell that from the camera. I don't have a real close-up ability, but this is the thicker, this is the bottom, and then this is the top. It's a thinner wall around the top, and that's because in the inside, in the top, it's been drilled out. There's been what you would call a seat made with a particular drill bit or burr that goes in there and just cuts a little piece out, like a little shelf, so that that stone will fit in there and not fall through, and makes a good, nice, good fit. So you have to make sure when you solder these on that you're soldering the thicker wall part on the bottom. because your stone's not going to fit if you do it the other way. Okay, so these tube settings come in all different sizes. I've got them also in 2mm, which is pretty tiny, and I've got 2, 3, 4, and 6, but I think it goes up to 8 as well. You might find some 5 somewhere, but you know, I don't generally use a size 5 stone, so you know, the ones that I've got are just fine. So that's what those are, in case anybody's wondering what a tube setting is. They I don't know if you can see that either on the side, but they fit in there real well, and I'll explain that as I go along. Now I stamped these stars, these earrings, with metal stamps that I got from Mish Barlow from Pragmatic Artisan. She makes fantastic stamps. Her designs are impeccable. The way they are carved, or I'm not really sure how you make a stamp, but it's either carved or drilled, but I'm thinking carved more than likely. But these are her Starlight stamps. She's got, oh, it's like a big and a little. I don't know how many millimeters they are, but they're perfect for these earrings, and probably, you know, a lot other projects as well. So we'll get into these a little bit later. But let's see here. We've got, I'm going to put these to the side. And if you have any questions as we go along, please feel free to ask. I'm always a little bit disorganized when I'm doing this. I try my best, but I have a hard time staying on task sometimes. So we shall see. Now I did make a handout. Seems like I always make a handout for our projects. And on the last page of the handout, I made a sheet with star templates on here. Now, this is just printer paper that I printed this on, but if you download the instructions, you can print the pattern out on maybe a cardstock. That would probably be a better weight template for you to use. But I put enough of them on there so that you can, you know, you don't have to save it. You could just trash it once you've used the design, once you've traced it. But it is easier to trace with a harder cardstock than what's on here. Okay, so let's see. Hi, Sandy. Yeah, Patricia, there's so many things to learn. It never ends, you know, which is good. You know, that's the way I like it. There's always something new to learn and to tackle. So what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of 22 gauge copper here. I am going to use metal shears to cut my stars out. But if you like to saw with the jeweler's saw, you can certainly do that. It'll probably be a nice cleaner look. But the shears work pretty well too. And if you want to anneal your copper first, you'll have a little bit easier time trimming them. Okay, so that is something to consider when you're going to use metal shears. Hi, Elizabeth. Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, once you understand the concept of this, you'll be putting tube settings on all kinds of things. It's just way fun to do. They're pretty hard to screw up. Okay, so let's see here. I will turn the camera down. And bear with me because I'm just using my camera on my cell phone. So it's not the best of situations, but it's all I've got to work with. So I can't justify getting a whole big setup, but maybe someday. Maybe someday. All right, so I'm going to get my metal, and I did anneal this, and I've got a template here, and I'm just going to trim this up. If you want a little bit smaller star, I would cut from within the line. If you want a little larger size, then cut outside the line. But I realized after I did these that they are a little bit big maybe for some people. So you can even, if you know how to do it, you can shrink them down on your printer as well. So I'm just going to give these a little trim. And then I will trace it out onto the metal. And you know what? I call them kind of a whimsical star because first off, I don't draw. I just can't. I couldn't draw to save myself. So I did this guy, and he's a little bit wonky, but actually I kind of like that. You know, I kind of like that it's not just a perfect star, but, you know, if you want to do that, you know, maybe you can draw your own star. So I try to cut them though, or I should say, when I cut them out, I try to make them match as much as possible. But if they're off a little bit, that's okay. They're on two separate ears, and I doubt that anybody would really notice that. And if they're noticing that, then they're too close to your face. Tell them to back off. So I will show you what I do to try to get two that are pretty much the same size. All right, so I'm going to get my Sharpie marker here and trace out my star on the copper. When you go for, well, let's just say if you're not a perfectionist, I mean, it's good to be a perfectionist in many ways, but also it can drive you crazy. And sometimes you can be pleasantly surprised when you do something a little bit different, when it is a little bit wonky. Now, I'm not too concerned about utilizing the copper as I would be for the silver as far as waste. So I'm just going to draw that out. I guess I got it all. Okay. Hi, Mary. Yeah, you know, sometimes I watch these little quick videos. They have people that do different crafts and things, and one is cake decorating, although I have no interest in that, but I just kind of marvel at how steady the person's hand is that is decorating the icing and stuff like that. Well, these thin lines, and they're just perfect. Mine would be like all over the place. That's something I just wouldn't even attempt. So I'm just going to cut around here to just disconnect these two stars. And cut around. The metal will curl. That's to be expected when you're cutting. And that's okay. We can flatten that out with a rawhide hammer. If any of you are totally new to doing this kind of stuff and you have questions, please feel free to ask, or if you need me to show something or explain something, if I'm not doing it enough to your understanding, please comment, and I'll try to address that for you. Okay, so that's one. And he got a little curly, but that's not too bad. So I'm going to put him on my block. And flatten it out. Hi, Sonny. This I'm using 22 gauge. I think you could probably get away with 24 as well, but I think I did my silver ones in 24 just because I had it, and I want them to be lightweight. So, but this happens to be 22 on the copper. I wouldn't go any thicker. You know, you could do 20 gauge, but I would saw that out rather than use shears for that. That would be a little bit too stiff to use your shears with. But I don't know about you, but I can't stand a lot of weight on my ears. So I like my earrings to be lightweight, but I don't want them to be flimsy either. So, you know, you got to take all that stuff into consideration. So I just wanted you to see me cut out a pair, but I think I will demonstrate the rest with silver. Whoop, get back here. Okay, so now they have to be filed, smoothed a little bit. And I am going to take a sanding stick and try to get those rough edges off. You can use a metal file, whatever you have. I'm also going to use my flex shaft with a coarse wheel, coarse white wheel, to get into the grooves a little bit more. But I like to get the rough stuff off with a sanding stick first. The thing with using your shears is you're never going to get as a nice cut as you do as you would with a jeweler saw. So if you don't mind sawing, you can get a nice shape in your little nooks and crannies in here. So something to think about. I'm just not fond of sawing. I will if I have to, but it's just not my forte. Yeah, Sonny, I've tried, you know, there's some beautiful earrings out there I see that people do, but, you know, like bezel set stones and you know, long ones, maybe with multiple stones, and, you know, God bless the person who can wear those, but it's certainly not me. I just, I would be I'd get a headache or something right away, so, but I do know people that can take the weight, and they don't mind it, so, I'd say all power to them. All right, I'm going to use my flex shaft and put on my face shield because I don't like it splattering. And I'm just going to get in those little grooves a little bit. This makes short work of filing. It's probably not good for every technique or every application, but for this it's just fine. And you want to make sure you wear a face shield when you're doing this stuff, because this one is a little bit short that I have on right now. This is short, but so I can feel those things like flicking on my neck, the little bits of metal. Alright. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe those templates are a little bit large that I put on the handout. I'll see if I can get those sized down a little bit for you guys, because, you know, unless you like them big, I guess it's really a personal choice. Sonny, I've enjoyed watching your little screech owls. I've never seen an owl in person, in real life, other than at the zoo or on TV. And that's like one of my things on my bucket list, is to, I know that might be weird to some people, but I would love to see them in the wild. I'd love to see them in my yard, but unfortunately, I think we do have owls around here. I hear them at night, but I can't see them at night. So if they're there, I can't see them. All right. Get those little crumbs off of me. Those little suckers hurt. All right, so let's get this stuff out of the way. And then, okay, everything's a stretch. It probably could be refined just a little bit more. I like to do my scrubbing on top of one of these little craft foam pieces that you get at the craft store, like Joann's or something. They're in the kids section. It gives them the pieces a little bit of a grip. All right, so now that I've got my two pieces, they're pretty much the same. There might be just a skosh difference in the sizes, but I'd say they're pretty much the same. Not enough to notice on your ears. I want them to be mirror images, so what I'm going to do, they fit perfectly like this, but I'm going to flip it this way and then put a hole here and a hole here, so that way they are in mirrored images on your ears. So I'm going to just draw a little hole here for my hanging hole. And this backside doesn't look as good as the front. It's got more of the marks from the shears on here. I want to see if I can get rid of that a little bit. Let me see here. I'll take a little scrubby. It's not too aggressive, but it's a little stronger than the steel wool. All right, that looks a little bit better. I am going to whack these on my planisher just a second. Just to get them nice and flat. Okay. All right, Tammy says, we have a barn owl that lives by our house. One day we were driving down our road and he was flying at us. He's huge. His wingspan is the width of our windshield. He's absolutely good. Oh my gosh. I would just so much love to see that. That would be a thrill for me. Okay, so that's that so far. So now I'm going to put the holes in there. And I'm going to use the smaller hole of a 2-hole punch in here. But that's the larger end, so I don't want that. And like everything, I kind of eyeball it. Okay. I think, oh, okay. And then I'm going to stamp the design on. Try to get in the dead center of that point there. That's good. I still feel a little sharpness on this one. You don't want it to be sharp at all. That would be bad. And I try to round out the points on the stars just because I don't want them stabbing me in the neck. Okay. All right. So these are still bigger. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do those. I'll do the silver ones later. All right. I am going to need, well, I guess I'm not ready for these yet, but I'll put them down here, my tube settings and my crystals. All right, so now I'm going to stamp these designs. Mish had said she's going to offer a special deal to anybody who's watching the video if they want to get these Starlight stamps. So, so that's a really nice thing. I'm going to get a discount on that. And who doesn't like that? These are just so well made. Beautiful. And, you know, when I stamp, I just am kind of random. If you want to follow a pattern, you can, well, I don't know how much you can do of a pattern on here, but I just like to do a combination of the big and the little star, and we'll go from there. So pretty. You should be able to give it one good whack and make a nice imprint. You can fill it up with stars, or you can just put them here and there. Totally up to you. But they make a nice impression. Whoop. I'm totally just random, so just big and little. They're both so cute. I don't stamp the tip here where I put the hole in, because you can actually cut through your metal because of the hole there. All right, let's stamp. I need to curl just a little bit, and that's okay. We can flatten that out. See that, hopefully? Okay. Let me get this other one. Oh, hi, Mish. You are on. Cool. Let's make sure I didn't turn those around. Yep, I did. So I'm glad I caught that. Yeah, it looks easy because it is easy, Mish. Your stamps are gorgeous. And they're so well made. It's like butter, or butter. It's a pleasure to work with them. It actually goes by pretty fast. Oop. Of course, a few of these are going to get covered up with the tube settings, but that's okay. All right. I'm going to whack them again on my Vanisher. Okay, just want to make sure they're nice and flat for when I put the tube settings on. Okay, so that's that. Get this stuff out of the way, and now I can get set up for soldering. Okay. So, let's clear off an area here. Put the tile down. Okay, so what I want to do is, I'm just going to set these out here just so you can see it. I'm only going to do one star at a time. But this is how I did it on the sample. And remember, the thick part, the thick wall part goes on the bottom onto the metal. So let's just say I'm going to start my little line here. I measure nothing, so you can either do it like I do it, or you can measure your own, whatever you are comfortable with and whatever you are satisfied with. But it makes me crazy to measure stuff, so I eyeball a lot. But that's pretty much how I'm gonna space out the tube settings. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these off because I'm going to only solder one at a time, and I am going to get my flux and flux that on there. And then I'll place these back on here. I gave it a little layer of flux first and kind of soldered it on. Make sure that you put them in the right orientation, meaning the thick wall down, thin wall up. All right, now I'm going to just use some easy solder. And where's my teeny tweezers here? And I'm going to put a little piece of solder in each tube. Make sure it's laying down, not standing up. Give it another spritz. Heat it evenly all the way around. Try not to keep your focus on your on the bezel cups. You want to get them warm, but we don't want to melt them. Just keep your heat circulating. And there they go. Swing that heat all the way around so that all of the solder is melted. This one is in question. I don't know if the solder went up the sidewall or if it actually hit it or not. But we'll find out. If it falls off, I'm not convinced that it's on there. I may just go ahead and stick a tiny little piece in there right now. This is always dicey when you do this again. It's like I should have left well enough alone or not. Sometimes the solder will go up the wall, which is not what you want. Get down there. Get down there. There we go. All right. Let's see if we can pull this off. If I had this up on a tripod, I could heat from below, and that probably would be the smarter thing to do in a situation like this. But smart isn't always at the top there for me. All right, so that one melted. All right, so we'll just give it a quick second to cool off, and then I'll quench it and put it in the pickle. So it's on there. And yes, we have some solder, silver solder that went into the copper. That's can't be avoided, but we will plate this piece afterwards. We'll copper plate it, and you won't even be able to tell. All right, so I put that piece in the pickle. Now let's get ready for the next one. And my solder board is hot. And now I can place these other tubes. I am using easy solder, Sonny. Thick wall. Okay. When you buy these, or when you get the tube settings, there's a top and the bottom. The top is thin. The metal is thin on the top. I don't think you can see it close up. But it's thin, and the bottom is thicker. I don't know if, can you see that? This is a thicker wall down here, and the reason it's thinner up here is because this part up here has been drilled out or cut out with a setting burr that makes like a little shelf inside here where your CZ is going to fit, where it's going to stay. Okay, so that's why you want to make sure that you put the thick side down on your metal, because if you put it up, there's no seat on there and your stone's not going to fit. Okay, so I mean it's not it is a big deal that you put it in the right way, but once you see the tube settings, you'll understand. You can make your own tube settings. I'm not going there though, but you can make your own from a piece of tube, and then with setting burrs, you can drill that seat out to make it fit your stones. But I have the stuff to do it, but I just find these are so much easier. And I get these, my tube settings from Halstead Bead. Rio has them too, but they're way more expensive on Rio. Halstead is very reasonable, and they're very good quality. So if you're going to buy tube settings, I would suggest checking them out. All right, so I put my, oh no, I didn't put my solder in here yet. Yeah, Sharon, this is my favorite little, it's my tooth. I used to work in dentistry, and one of the labs that we dealt with put their crowns, you know, when a patient had crowns made, they would put their crowns in one of these little cases, and I thought they were great, so I'd nab me a few of them. All right, so I placed one solder chip in each. I'm just using wire solder, but you could use whatever you like or whatever you have. All right. All right, and we're ready to torch these. Keep your heat moving. Starting to melt. Oh, this one moved a little bit. Okay. And I think, I'm pretty sure I melted this one a little bit. Kind of looks that way. It looks like I destroyed both of these. How could I have? It sure looks like it. I did. I melted these suckers. All right, well, I have to pull them off. Oh, joy. It's not a demo from me unless something gets screwed up. It's just the way it is. All right, let's see if I can pull these off. Hang on a sec. I probably should have used a different torch. This one probably was just a little bit too aggressive. I think all three of them are bad. Oh joy. All right, let's see here. Well, you know what? I'll use the aggressive one to get them off. Let's hope it works. Disaster. Too hot. Too freaking hot. Okay, well, you learned something, and I learned something. This is not good. This one is going to be bye-bye, because it's not worth fooling around with it. Okay. Live and learn. Yeah, that was just too... I don't know why the first one came out fine. I just guess I got it too hot. I could grind all that off, but I really don't want to. Oh well. Yeah, great learning for you, great embarrassment for me, but you know, that's okay. All right, these suckers are really hot. So these are hummingbird holders by Eli Gamini. I think that's how you say his name. He will also have his name in the handout, in the references. If you don't have any of his hummingbird holders and you do soldering work, you should have a couple. I'm just saying, they're wonderful. They are wonderful. All right, well, I don't think I'm going to make the other one right now, but I think we'll go ahead on with the one in the pickle. So I'll get this one out. Oh, come on. All right. All right, this one is, and these are like perfect on this one. Go figure. All right, I'm just going to clean this up with a brass brush real quick. Get this out of my way so I don't burn myself. All right, easy peasy. So there is solder in some of the stars because the solder flowed. I mean, whether the stars were there or not, it was going to get on the metal, but it just kind of went down into the stars a little bit, and that's okay. Let's see here. Get that water out of there. All right, so I'm going to take this wire brush. We'll see if that does anything. Put my shield on. Just use this wire brush on here. It just ever so slightly takes a little solder off. Oh, I just remembered a different one. But it's somewhere else, of course. This one might work a little better. I always want to step on this with a foot pedal, and I don't have one on this one. It's crying. All right. All right, let me look at questions here. Sonny, you're right. I could just use that as a pendant. I could indeed. Yeah, Sharon, the hummingbirds are great. Good, Elizabeth, I'm glad. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is how we learn. You know, most of the time we learn by making mistakes. So, yeah. All right, so now I'm going to show you how I plate this to get the copper color back over the silver. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blue pickle. This is old pickle that's been around for a while. It's turned blue. So I'm putting some like in a little custard cup, and I have a cup warmer that I'm going to set it on, and then I'm going to take a piece of steel wool. The old, pretty much used up steel wool is great to use. And I'm going to put my piece, and this is probably more steel wool than you need, but you know, why not? So I'm going to submerge that into the pickle and let it sit. I don't know if you can see that here. I've got it just sitting in here and kind of bubbling away, and I'm just going to cover this up because I don't want those fumies in my face. Put this back up. Okay, let's see here. Tammy asks, doesn't the plating attach itself to your tube settings? Yes, it does. And actually, that's not a bad thing. If you want it to be, you know, I mean, I'm putting silver tube settings on copper. To me, mixing metals is great. I don't. They don't have to be copper and copper. You know, it's copper and silver together, copper, silver, and brass. I think they all look nice together, nice and interchangeable. But yeah, it does kind of get on the tube settings, but I can pretty much take most of it off with that little, what is it? Oh, it's on my drill. On one of these little 3M bristle brushes. You know, this I can just kind of go around the sides with them, and it takes that off. It looks pretty good, actually. Let me see one here. Yeah, when I clean these off, I don't think you can see it. When I clean those off, they still look silver. I wish I could find a way to get inside that where it's the patina is really dark in between the tube settings. I did as good as I could. I took the 3M bristles and stuff and tried to clean that out a lot, but I noticed that a lot on people's jewelry. You know, it's hard to get up close when you're going around stones and things. So, but it's not really a bad look, I don't think. Anyway, Okay, so that's getting pickled, or not pickled, it's getting plated. And let me move stuff around here to get the crystals ready to set. I hate that those melted, but in a way, you know, like I said, it's good to see things go wrong so that you know how to deal with stuff on your own. But that was, I'm sure, because I just had too much heat on there. I used this torch, which I love. This is a great torch for copper, but I probably should have used this more like a micro torch, creme brulee type thing. Should have been on not as much heat on those tube settings because they're much thinner than the copper. Okay, so this is pretty much equal to those other soldering cans, you know, that you like the butane cans that you just put the twist on torch head, you know, the disposable cans. This I had before the disposable cans, and it was handy, so I just grabbed this. The yellow one is made by Wall Lenk. It's Wall, 2 words. Lenk is the second word. I got them on Amazon. They are still making them, but they have a little bit different look now. So, but I have 2 of them, and you know, I have multiple things because of teaching. You know, when I'm going places and teaching, you have to have enough stuff for everybody to use. But yeah, they're pretty strong, and that should have not, I should not have used that one. So, okay. So I'm gonna get ready here to put my tube settings on. All right. I hear somebody's here. I don't know who that is. Nobody respects me in this house when I tell them I'm doing a demo. Be quiet or leave or something. No. Okay. All right. Okay, so I need, see, then I get distracted and I lose my words, and I already have enough trouble with that as it is. All right, so I need my setting punches. These I bought through Flow Studio. They are wonderful. I have another set it's a larger wooden box that has different sizes of punches, but since I got these, I was never really thrilled with those other ones. So people were talking good stuff about this, so I went ahead and picked it up, and I really like it. So this is also in the references in the handout. All right, so I use this rubber bench block a lot underneath my bench block. And what happened in here is I was drilling something and I needed a little bit more height, and stupid me didn't realize I was going to be drilling into this rubber, which really didn't make any difference. It didn't hurt this at all. But actually I found that to be kind of a good thing, because with a couple of holes in here, I can put my post earrings or something in there, hold it up while I'm working on stuff. I know that sounds kind of weird, but actually it's had a good purpose for different things. Anyway, what I did, the holes that were drilled in here are a little bit too big for what I'm doing, but I wanted to find a better way to grab my CZs. So I just poked a smaller hole with an awl into the rubber, and you don't want it to be very wide, just big enough for the tip of the CZ to fit into that hole. And I use that because it's hard to grab a hold of these CZs. to get them in the right place for setting. All right, let me see. I got some schmutz on this one. I bought these wax pencils, which I'm going to show you. I'm kind of disappointed in them. I thought they would be easier to use than they are. They were touted as good pencils to pick up things to put on your nails. You know, when you're doing your nails and you're putting little decals or whatever nonsense people do on their nails. I shouldn't say nonsense. Maybe that's something people like to do, but they would be destroyed in hours if they were on my fingers. Anyway, what I do is I put that tip of that gemstone, or not gemstone, but the CZ into that hole, so that way I can use my wax pencil and pick up the CZ to place in the tube setting to try to get it in there straight on the first try. Do you have to use them? No. I was just trying to find a way that would make it easier, because sometimes they want to get away from you, and sometimes the table of the stone is kind of like cockeyed, and when you set a tube setting, you want to make sure that your stone is flush with the top of the tube setting. So let me see if I can explain it a little better. Let's see, let's take a larger one. Oh, these are small. I also get my CZs from Halstead Bead and Cool Tools US. They're great places to get those things from as well. And again, they'll be in the references on the handout. All right, so what I did was I stuck this CZ. Sorry, forgot I didn't have you guys close by here. I stuck this CZ in the hole here. And, you know, this is supposed to be wax, but they're rather hard. So I don't know if there's a way to soften this up or not. I just got these recently, so I haven't really messed around with them too much. But my idea was to just grab the, press this on to pick up the stone and then place it inside the tube setting nice and flat. And even then, sometimes it's a little bit crooked. You really need to make sure that that stone is flush. And I don't want to push this one in because I want to be able to get it out since this isn't soldered to anything. But you get the gist of what I mean, hopefully, with the idea of why I drilled that little hole or popped that little hole in here so that I can pick up my stone. It's hard to pick these up with a tweezer without them slipping away from you. Okay, so that was my reason for that. Okay, so now let me check on the pickle or the plating solution. Okay. Yeah, Tammy, fingernails is just a no-go. Whenever I go for a pedicure, they always say, oh, you want your fingers done too? And it's like, your hands done too? And it's like, no, I'm not trying to be cheap or anything, but it would be a waste of time and money on my hands. All right, so I'm going to take this piece out of the pickle. All right. It's hot, hot, hot. Oh, I know who's here. We need some concrete fixed in the backyard. I forgot my husband had made an appointment for someone to come by. Okay, so that could probably actually benefit by staying a little bit longer, but we're not going to do that right now. I can always put it back in even set with the CZs because the CZs are glass, and that's not going to hurt it. All right, so, oh, that was a bad idea, putting that on my bench block. I guess there was a little bit of stuff. Let me see if I can clean that off real quick. Yeah, I may have to clean it with something more. Okay, see how fast, well, maybe you can't tell. There was a little bit of pickle on the bottom of that bowl that I set on here. All right, so what I would normally do at this point, once it's sufficiently plated, I would take this and put it in my tumbler. I'd clean it up a little bit, then I'd put it in the tumbler and tumble it real nice and shiny. And then I would set my stones. But I am not going to do that because of time. All right, so turn this back on. It's a little film, you know, from the pickle that I just want to get that off. Yeah, the tube settings themselves, they plated just a tiny bit, but this is just knocking it right off. So yeah, the next step would be in the tumbler. I'm just doing this so that you can see the method to my madness. All right. Actually, I want this up here. Can you guys see this okay, I hope? All right, so I am going to start with the red one. Okay, so I've placed this red one in here. You can see that, I hope. All right, and now I'm going to get my tube punches. This one's a little bit small for the 3mm. This would be great on a 2mm. So I'm going to take the next one up. Just make sure that that's straight in there, because once you start to set it, if your stone is crooked, it's going to stay that way and may not stay in very well. It may pop out. So I'm going to take a rawhide hammer, put this punch, see the holes on that, the hole on that, and put this over here, and then take my rawhide mallet and I'm going to tap it around. I'm kind of moving the tube setter in a circular motion while I set that. And that folds that little top edge over onto the stone to kind of like hook it in there. And then I'm going to just take the punch by itself and just kind of roll over it. You want to make sure also that you're not using too large of a punch, that it actually presses down on the metal, because then you're going to leave yourself a ring on your metal that was made from the edge of this punch. Ask me how I know. So you want to just make sure that you're not applying any pressure or this onto the on the back plate. Okay. So then I usually flop it around to make sure that stone's not coming out. Not very professional, but oh well. All right, so now I'm going to grab the clear one. Actually, I don't think I have another. I think I just ordered some crystal. Oh, here's one. Or is it blue? No, I think that's a crystal one. Some of the light blue ones are so pale that they almost look like they're clear. But this is not. Good, because that will match the earrings that I already made. So that can be my pendant. Ta-da! Thank you guys for the tip on doing that. All right, so I'm putting that back in the hole. Just the little point. And pick up my stone. Set it in. It's crooked. I'll flatten that out. Okay. I'm actually going to press that down a little bit. Ah, now I missed it. You can also, this is another way you can do it, is put your stone upside down, point up, and you can put your piece over it and pick up your stone that way. That actually is not too bad. Okay, so that's nice and flat there. Okay. I'm just looking at the messages. Sharon says she used crystal katana is what I use to pick up CZs. Yep, that's probably what I should get. I don't have one. Hi, Janet. Try to melt the tip of the wax pencil on your hot board. Oh, that's an idea. That is a good idea. I will try that, Sharon. Elizabeth, I was going to ask about the tumblers. Thank you for sharing that. I never worked with copper yet. So, okay, yeah, copper's wonderful to work with. I really like copper, not only because it's affordable, but I like the look of it. It's great stuff to practice on before you start with silver, if you haven't done that. So let's see here. All right, so I'm going to still use the same size punch for the 4mm. You don't want to go crazy hammering it, but you want to make sure that you get it set in there. You know, you could maybe hammer so hard that you could break the glass, the CZ, but CZs are pretty sturdy. So yeah, I think it would take an awful lot for you to do that, but just keep that in mind. This is kind of burnishing it around by doing that. So yeah, that's in there. You see that? Too close. All right, and we'll get the blue one on here. All right. Yeah, I hope you guys learn a little bit of something. I mean, I am learning all the time. You know, by experimenting, trying, pushing the limits sometimes. Sometimes you get good results, sometimes you wish you hadn't messed around, but for the most part, it's good. Okay, that one's in okay. So let's set that one. And I am not going to patina this today because I want to put it back in the plating pickle just to see if I can get a little bit better coverage, although this isn't bad, but it could be better. Okay, so they are on. They are on. And there's really, they're really not difficult to do. Hadn't I burned those or melted those other ones, you would see how easy this is to apply a tube setting to your piece. So I would encourage you to play with that. I have, let's see here. So, well, to finish this up, I would, like I said, I would put this back in the pickle with the steel wool just to plate it a little bit more. It won't hurt the stones. And then I would clean it off, and I would put it in liver of sulfur and then clean that off with some 4O steel wool. So that's pretty much it. I put the steel wool in the pickle because it had copper on it? No, because there is, in your old pickle, there are little particles of your copper that get into the pickle. And when your pickle gets old and turns blue, it is saturated with those. So if you put fresh pickle in with steel wool, it wouldn't plate it the same way, if it plates it at all. I've never tried it because I was always told that you put it in the old blue pickle. So theoretically, if you put anything steel in there, it doesn't have to be steel wool per se, but you could put like a steel nail or a piece of steel wire, something like that, into that pickle, which, I would put just in a small vessel. And the way I like to do it, I feel like I get good coverage in a short period of time when I embed the object in a piece of steel wool. And then I let it set, heated, on the cup warmer for about 10 minutes. And it usually comes out really nice in that amount of time. It's weird. It's like as soon as you put the steel wool in that blue pickle, it turns clear. The pickle turns clear. I don't know why. It's all science stuff that, I'm sure there's an explanation, a proper explanation for all of that. I don't have it. It doesn't interest me. It's just, what interests me is that it works. So I don't need to know why it worked that way, but that's just me. If you're curious about that, I'm sure that there's probably some research somewhere that will explain it properly for you. But it does, the blue pickle, it works better with heat, with warmth. So that's why a cup warmer is, to me, is a great easy thing to use to just keep it warm. But maybe it still would work not being heated, but maybe it would take longer. I don't know that one. Yeah, Misha, it really works. It really does. It's just a matter of having, I guess, the right amounts of everything in there. And like I said, embedding it, to me, I've always had good results when I just take apart, piece and put my piece inside the like a pocket of steel wool. I keep all my old grungy, pretty much used pieces of steel wool. You know how steel wool, when you're working it gets smaller and smaller and grungier. And I save all of that. I put it in a container, and then when I want to pickle, I just take from there instead of using like a fresh piece of steel wool. There's still plenty of steel in that scrungy little piece. So yeah, thanks for watching, Mary. Yeah, it's just you learn little bits and pieces as you go along. Different people offer different things. I like to watch as many videos as I can. Uh, a lot of the stuff I pretty much know already, but I always learn something I didn't know. Somebody presents something a little bit differently, or they introduce a product that I never heard of before. I mean, I certainly don't know it all, and uh, I like to learn. I like to learn, and I like to play. I like to mess around and do the things, do all the things. But you got to have the toys to do the things. So, all right. Any other questions about this technique? I don't know if I have missed anything. Pickle for copper only? Well, I'm not sure what you mean, Patricia. You need pickle for all of your metals, anything that you torch and apply heat to and get that oxidation on there. But the plating, I'm only doing that because I'm using silver solder on copper, and the silver solder runs, it gets in places that you don't want it to be, and it's hard to grind that out of there. It depends on where it's at, how easy it is to access it. So by plating it, it covers that up, but there are certain factors for a successful plating. So hopefully you get that. Okay. All right, guys. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Next week, oh, I wanted to remind you, I'm going to post the offer that Mish has graciously offered to our group for discount on her stamps. She does have a tremendous workload right now, so you may not get your stamps right away. More than likely not, because she's pretty busy. And that's a good thing. You want to be pretty busy, but it does cause a delay sometimes. And I know we all want our stuff when we want it, but if you bear with her, it is worth the wait. Her stamps, if you're not familiar with them, are fantastic. So I will put that information on as soon as we're done here. Next week, we're going to do this bangle. And this is a wire bangle, and I had offered some lampwork bead sets some weeks back that a lot of you purchased, so we're going to continue on and get this project started next week. I mean, it'll be completed next week, but we are going to be doing that next week. All right, so I hope you guys can tune in for that. All of these demos are recorded, and they are in the archives. I put up an archive last week after our demo last week, because a lot of people were having trouble finding where my past demos were. And Facebook, it's wonderful that they offer this kind of thing for us to do, but it's not always user friendly or in the format that would be best for what we do. So people's they access these videos either through their phone, their PCs, laptops, whatever, and it seems like everybody's stuff is a little bit different. I know that on my laptop, when you get into my group page, Under the banner picture, there's like a menu bar that goes across, and there is, you know, different things. This is home, discussion, guides, and so on. And then there's a more, and you click on more, and then there's a drop down where you can get into photos or videos or files. And you would look under videos if you have that on your you know, whatever you're using. You'd get into videos and you would be able to access the demos. All they have is a thumbnail of my face generally on most of them, and there's no titles. So you would actually physically have to click on each one to pull up the title of what it is that I'm demoing that day, which is kind of, it's kind of crappy, but it is what it is, you know, at least it's there. But like if you use your phone, sometimes I think it's on iPhones, I don't have one, but if you are trying to access the demos from your phone, it'll just say photos. It doesn't say videos. So you have to click on photos, and the videos are intermixed with your photos. So you have to do some, you know, hunting to do that. Anyway, so last week after the demo, I created a file of the video archives, which are dated, the dates of the demos and the title of the demos. So if you click on that, you can just kind of scroll down the list and you can find all the demos, and has a link to bring you to that. So we're gonna try that out, and hopefully that works out for everybody. So I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible for you guys to find me and to learn, you know, watch the demos and stuff. Okay, so that is what we're gonna do next week. Still waiting on the project, the gemstone trio with the class that I'm going to do. Still waiting on a few people from out of the country to get their kits. They haven't received them yet, but as soon as they do, then I will set up a date for that to happen. And then we're going to do some coin jewelry. I was thinking about this yesterday and put up a picture on the group page, and I'm kind of excited about it because this is something I did a long time ago and kind of forgot about it, and I think this would be fun. These are buffalo nickel earrings with real buffalo nickels. So that's them right there with a little bit of turquoise chips on there. And then a mercury dime. If you don't know what mercury dimes are, you know, I guess it's dating us, you know, the older people, but they are your standard dime, coin dime, only they've got a the head of Mercury, the Greek god, on them, and they are 90% silver, which is very cool. So you can make a bracelet with these or earrings. You can add stones with them if you like. I mentioned that you can get them, you can buy some old coins on eBay. They have, that's where I've got most of mine. But I did buy mine a long time ago, and someone asked me yesterday what a good price to pay was, and you know, I want to say between $2 and $3 a dime. Nickels are probably a lot less, because nickels don't have the silver in them that the dimes do. So, but try to get the best copies that you can that have the most detail in them. A lot of the coins, the old coins, are worn, and a lot of the detail is off on them. But on the other hand, you don't want to buy coins that a coin collector would want. Plus, those are going to be very, very expensive. But once in a while, you might find a lot of 10 or 20 for a reasonable price, you know, $25, $30, something like that. That would be okay. But check and make sure that they're not, that the images aren't real worn, because, you know, that's kind of like, I don't know, that takes away from the coolness of it. So, Yeah, Tammy, I would think that you could. You know, they're 90% silver, so I don't see any reason why you couldn't solder on there. So in that case, if you were going to solder on the dimes, then you wouldn't necessarily need a good image. You know, if you're going to cover it with a tube setting, you're still getting your silver, not at an extreme cost, and still can make a pretty neat piece. That's a great idea, actually, Tammy. I have some coins. Every once in a while, when I would get a lot of coins, there's always going to be a few that really, you know, the image is lousy. It's almost worn off completely. So that would probably, those would be probably perfect to work with to solder a setting on top of that. So see, I learned something too, you know, that's very cool. Thank you. And I also have, I have some foreign coins that I've had in a box for a long time, and I think I may bring a couple of those out. I hesitate to solder on those because I don't know what kind of metals they are. But it can be done, I suppose, with good ventilation. You know, with safety, you know, all the safety cautions and stuff. But we could make some buttons out of those or something like that. I don't know. There's just a lot. I wish I knew what those metals are, but you know that might be. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. So I guess that's going to be it for today. If you have any further questions or comments or concerns, you can always post them in the group, and I will get to them as soon as possible, usually by this evening. I will add a couple of little notes on my handout and get that out to you on the group page real quick. And we shall see you guys next week here, Wednesday at 2:30. And thanks for joining me. I always enjoy when you guys are with me, whether I screw up or not. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your week and see you soon. Bye-bye.